The greatest danger facing Israel and the world is the prospect of a nuclear-armed Iran.
And Israel is prepared to do something about it. The Plan A, would see Israel launching a limited, surgical, preemptive strike, attacking with long-range aircraft and armed drones, firing cruise missiles from its submarines in the Arabian Sea, or launching its latest Jericho-3 missiles. But the Iranians have learnt from history. They have spread and concealed their nuclear installations across the country. So in this scenario, instead of hitting a single target like in Iraq or Syria, Israel would have to target all 7 Iranian nuclear reactors.
In this sort of surgery, many people die. The Israelis could attack Iranian nuclear facilities, but they wouldn't be able to inflict long-term permanent damage.
And Iran would have to retaliate.
If Iran retaliates, every U.S. ally in the region or Israeli ally in the region is a potential target.
Iran's ally, Syria, could also join in. Plus Iran's proxy forces, like Hezbollah in Lebanon, would fire rockets into Israel. And there's the possibility of unconventional attacks on Israeli interests across the world.
An Israeli attack on Iranian nuclear facilities would likely only accelerate the Iranian desire to obtain nuclear weapons. So this idea that you would attack certain facilities in Iran and leave Iranian retaliatory capabilities intact breaks every rule in the military and political playbook.
So, what's Plan B?
The United States and the international community are determined to prevent Iran from acquiring nuclear weapons.
The US military have had plans really since the fall of the Shah for military action.
Cyber warfare is stage 1. Stage 2, in the military sense, would be massive ordnance air blast bombs, or MOAB, mother of all bombs. This is the most powerful traditional military non-nuclear bomb that the U.S. has in their arsenal. There are also new generation of bunker busters.
An American strike would be neither limited nor surgical.
A massive American attack on Iran would be able to attack some 10,000 different aim points, more or less overnight.
Their plans would destroy all Iranian air and sea bases and hit all known nuclear facilities. Iran would be left in flames.
The Americans would claim that these were surgical strikes, although I'm sure there would be very, very considerable casualties, of course, but mostly off camera.
If the U.S. or Israel hit a nuclear reactor that is going at full steam, you have the potential of a giant dirty bomb, and then the civilian deaths could be in the hundreds of thousands.
This conflict, with estimates of between 1 and 2 million Iranian civilians dead, could get out of hand.
You got to be careful of unintended consequences here.
Best laid plans of mice and men don't always come to fruition. Chaos theory can come into play. This is uncharted territory for both America and Israel.
After such a massive offensive, Iran would fire everything it had left towards Israel. It would launch wave after wave of attacks against Western targets in Iraq and Afghanistan, and damage ports and oil refineries in the Gulf. The US would ask its NATO allies for support, dragging Turkey and the 2 nuclear powers, Russia and China, reluctantly into the conflagration.
After the first stage of an attack on Iran, this could balkanize the global geopolitical scene into a new Cold War scenario.
The consequences for the world as a whole are a terrible return to 19th century power politics, which of course produced the First World War.
The result could be apocalyptic. A new wave of global violence could follow, and soaring oil prices would be the final blow to a global economy in chaos. Are such doomsday scenarios bluff, psychological warfare, or is the world really prepared to go this far?
about 10 days after 9/11, I went through the Pentagon and I saw Secretary Rumsfeld and Deputy Secretary Wolfowitz. I went downstairs just to say hello to some of the people on the Joint Staff who used to work for me, and one of the generals called me and he said, "Sir, you got to come in and talk to me a second." I said, "Well, you're too busy." He said, No. He says, "We've made the decision. We're going to war with Iraq." This was on or about the 20th of September. I said, "We're going to war with Iraq. Why?" He said, "I don't know." He said, "I guess they don't know what else to do." So I said, "Well, did they find some information connecting Saddam to Al-Qaeda?" He said, No. He says, "There's nothing new that way. They just made the decision to go to war with Iraq." He said, "I guess it's like we don't know what to do about terrorists, but we got a good military and we can take down governments." And he said, "I guess if the only tool you have is a hammer, every problem has to look like a nail." So I came back to see him a few weeks later, and by that time we were bombing in Afghanistan. I said, "Are we still going to war with Iraq?" And he said, "Oh, it's worse than that." He said, he reached over on his desk, he picked up a piece of paper, and he said, I just got this down from upstairs," meaning the Secretary of Defense's office today, and he said, "This is a memo that describes how we're going to take out 7 countries in 5 years, starting with Iraq and then Syria, Lebanon, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and finishing off Iran." The truth is about the Middle East is, had there been no oil there, it would be like Africa.
So, in conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, a new world is emerging. It is a new world order.
A new world order.
Estamos al borde de una recesión global, advirtió este jueves el titular del Fondo Monetario Internacional, Dominique Strauss. Muchos en el mundo están hablando de algo raro, extraño, el establecimiento del llamado nuevo orden mundial.
¿Cómo participamos cuando se junten a ver cuáles van a ser las nuevas reglas del mundo que va a emerger después de esta crisis?